the Committee on Environment, Climate, and Legacy to order. Let the record show that right now is 3:07, Tuesday, March 17, and we do have quorum. They may be members coming online, and if they do, a member will be required to state their name and location where they are. Let's start with the Senate File 4340 by Senator Hauschild, Ms. Wild Appropriation. Senator Hauschild, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Today I have for your consideration Senate File 4340. This bill simply extends the time in which the Fond du Lac Band has to spend the fiscal year 23 appropriation for elk reintroduction. In 23, the legislature approved $2.3 million for a grant to the Fond du Lac Band for a project to reintroduce wild elk into the eastern part of Minnesota. Of this money, $300,000 was directed to the DNR to assist in implementing the program. The implementation of these portions directed to the DNR are taking a little bit longer than previously expected, creating the need for this legislation to extend the timeline for the expenditure for the full appropriation. Thank you, Chair Hur and Committee, for your consideration on this legislation today. And I do have with me Mike Schrag, who's the Wildlife Director at the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa. If there's any questions or anything, he can help answer.
Okay, welcome. Please state your name for the record.
Mike Schrag, I'm the Wildlife Program Manager for the Fond du Lac Band.
Go ahead. Anybody have questions? Do you have presentation, Mr. Strong?
No, Senator. Senator Hauschild did an excellent job of laying things out, and I'm just here to answer any questions your committee may have.
All right. Going once for any question from Senator Wiesenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I was going to bring an amendment to this bill to get rid of H completely, but then I found out that most of the money's already been spent. So maybe we don't need till 29 to spend it, but I guess out of the $2.3 million, it sounds like there's $143,000 left. Could I start with the $1.5 million that's encumbered? Could we find out where that is?
Mr. Strong?
Senator, so the original $2.3 million, $300,000 went to the Minnesota DNR to assist with this effort. I believe they have $143,000 unspent. The remaining $2 million went to the Fond du Lac Band. In round numbers, we've spent about $500,000 getting ready for this project, infrastructure, planning, purchasing equipment, things like that. We still have $1.5 million of the original appropriation we have not been able to spend, and that's at this point it's due that it's just taking longer to implement this than originally anticipated, and we're still waiting to move the first elk. And when we get to that point, I think things will be rolling along nicely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Purchasing equipment like to move elk or?
Corral traps, dart rifles, things of that nature. And also doing a number of habitat improvements in the area to make better habitat conditions for elk when they arrive. We've built an acclimation pen, a holding pen, about 3 acres in size, 8-foot woven wire fence. And we needed to do some upgrades to the forest road leading to that site, so it's a 4-season road now. So yeah, a number of things like that. And we have a draft management plan ready to go out for public review. So we've accomplished a lot. We just need more time to physically move elk.
Thank you.
Senator Wiesenberg.
And thank you, Mr. Chair. So I don't know if the DNR is here or if they want to answer questions or not, but my concern again is moving elk from northwestern Minnesota to the eastern part of the state when we already have elk harming people in that area when I mean harm, I mean farms. They're causing damage. And now we're moving elk around, and this is going to cause damage to farmers over there. And we already don't have the money to reimburse these farmers when the elk are eating their feed in this wintertime and also damaging fence. Another concern I have is, and we have deer farmers in the room right now, the deer farmers aren't allowed to move deer around. Elk are cervid, and we're moving elk around, and the government can move elk freely, but deer farmers can't move deer around because they might spread CWD, but the government can. Tell me how it makes any bit of sense if we're looking at this scientifically. So we're putting deer farmers out of business, and we're hurting these people. We're killing family farms. These people have put their livelihoods into these farms and are losing all their money, and they're being shut down. But the government is spending money on moving elk from northwestern Minnesota to eastern Minnesota, and they could have CWD, and they could be transferring CWD. So the government can do that, but the public can't. That's baloney. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Senator Hauschild, any closing comment?
No closing comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right. This bill will be layover. Senate File 4340 will be layover.
Thank you.
Okay. I have made an announcement before that this year we're not going to have, we're not going to hear legacy proposal other than extended deadlines for any previous legacy project. But out of legacy, there's the Outdoor Heritage Fund, and I'll be presenting that bill. I'll pass the gavel to Senator Hauschild to chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome to your own committee. I believe, let's see, we'll have you present Senate File 4304, and I believe you have 2 amendments.
I do. Yep, I do. I'll give a little introduction first, and I'll roll into
Please.
the amendment. Senate File 3404 is a 2026 Outdoor Heritage Fund bill recommended by a council of 12 under the name of LaSar Sam Outdoor Heritage Council. There are 8 citizens and 4 legislators, and within the Senate, the Senate members that include myself and Senator Lane. The Outdoor Heritage Fund is a result of the constitutional amendment in 2008, and during the summer, the LaSar Sam Council spend ample time review project and consider habitat program, then make the funding recommendation to us for eligible fish and wildlife habitat related project. This bill, Senate File 4304, marked the 18 years of Outdoor Heritage Fund appropriation from the LaSar Sam Outdoor Heritage Council, and contain funding for 53 project across our state. I will have presentation by Director Christina Smitten and also Assistant Director Joe Pavaco, who are here to answer any question that member may have. I have an amendment, the A5 amendment, to put the bill as a shape that the author prefer.
So Senator Herr moves the A5 author's amendment. This is posted online and in the member's packet. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. The A5 amendment is adopted. And Senator Herr.
I'd like Mr. Miller to walk through the amendment. Well, it's now the bill, but the bill as it is, I'd like Mr. Miller to walk through. And this is a result of the budget forecast of 1% increase. So, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Chairman and members, the A5 amendment that has been adopted represents the additional funding that was available in the Outdoor Heritage Fund in the February forecast. So the DE amendment is exactly the same as the original Senate File 4304. Other than the numbers, the appropriation numbers have changed. All the language regarding the riders and everything are the same. You'll see the spreadsheet that has been handed out shows the comparison of the original bill versus the DE amendment. And you'll see in that difference column on the far right of the spreadsheet the additional amount that has been added to most of the appropriations. There were a few appropriations that did not get an increase, and the overall increase compared to the original bill was $2.15 million. So again, other than the numbers in the bill, the rest of the bill language is exactly the same that was in 4304.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller. Senator Hurd?
I'll pass the mic to Director Smither. Or first, yes.
Thank you, Senator Hurd.
Really quick, Senator Hurd, did you have an additional amendment?
I do. Perhaps if we could incorporate the additional amendment, or we can, that's almost a slightly a different subject matter. Yeah.
We'll move forward and you can introduce that after. Okay,
yes. Please
proceed with your testimony. Apologies for interrupting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senate committee members, and staff. Thank you, Senator Hurd, for that introduction. My name is Christina Smitten, and I'm the director of the Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Council. With me is Assistant Director, Mr. Joe Pavelko. We will provide background information for all of you about the Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Council, along with details on this year's recommended appropriations. Mr. Chair and Senate committee members, to provide some foundation information, in 2008, voters passed the Clean Water, Land, and Legacy Constitutional Amendment, which for 25 years after passage provides for an increase in sales and use tax of 0.3%. The amendment created 4 dedicated funds: outdoor heritage, clean water, parks and trails, and arts and cultural heritage. Of the 4 funds, 33% of these sales tax receipts are deposited into the Outdoor Heritage Fund to be spent solely to restore, protect, and enhance wetlands, prairies, forests, and habitat for fish, game, and wildlife. Over the past 16 years, the Minnesota legislature has allocated over $1.8 billion from the Outdoor Heritage Fund, leveraging $647 million from other funding sources to protect, restore, and or enhance over 1.3 million acres of habitat in Minnesota. The governing statute 97A.056 establishes the Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Council as part of the legislative branch to solicit and review funding requests and make recommendations to the legislature for the appropriations of money from the Outdoor Heritage Fund, ensuring that recommended projects are consistent with the purposes of the Constitution and state law. The statute also provides for a highly successful small grants program which funds projects between $5,000 and $500,000 called the Conservation Partners Legacy Grant Program, and that's administered by the DNR. The Lessard Sam's Council consists of 12 members, 2 appointed legislators from the House and 2 appointed from the Senate, 8 citizens, of which 2 are appointed by the House and 2 are appointed by the Senate, and 4 which are appointed by the governor. The Lessard Sam's Council is administratively supported by nonpartisan staff, which include Mr. Pavelko, Project Analyst Sandy Smith, Commissioner Assistant Tom Redman, and myself. Members, in keeping with our goal of proper oversight of funded programs, as fraud is top of mind, I want to mention that the Office of the Legislative Auditor recently conducted a performance audit of the administration of outdoor heritage funds. While there were findings that the DNR and the Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Council are taking steps to address, there were no findings of fraud. The money dedicated to the Legacy Amendment is appropriated by law. This is the 18th year of annual appropriations that have achieved significant outdoor heritage results for Minnesotans today and into the future. New to this role, I take no credit other than through the sales taxes I have paid over the years. The immense success is due to all of you and your predecessors, the integrity of the Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Council, the commitment of the very capable staff, our DNR partners in administering these funds, and our government and non-government on-the-ground partners working with local community members and organizations to help realize outdoor heritage goals throughout the state. In your materials is a map showing the locations of funded projects, and there's a brochure with additional background. And cumulative outputs in acres of prairie, forests, and wetlands protected, restored, and enhanced throughout Minnesota. Moving to the Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Council proposal review process and funding recommendations for consideration this fiscal year. To summarize the many hours and extensive work of the Lessard Sam's Council to get to this year's recommendations in just a couple minutes seems disingenuous, but I'll do my best. The process from opening the call for funding to final approval takes about 15 months. On April 1st of 2025, the call for funding was issued and closed on May 23rd. In July, the council individually reviewed each of the proposals and scored them based upon predetermined criteria. The council then jointly and publicly reviewed and discussed members' scoring as well as the cumulative scorings. In August, the council held hearings and each of the proposers had an opportunity to present before the council the merits of their plan and why it should be recommended for funding. The council then scored the proposals with their recommended funding allocation amounts based upon the budget forecast. Draft accomplishment plans were submitted by proposers that reflected the allocation recommendations. Council members reviewed the accomplishment plans, and in December, the final bill was acted upon as a whole with unanimous approval to be presented to and considered by the legislature. After passage by the legislature, final versions of the accomplishment plans will be reviewed and approved by the Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Council at its June 2026 meeting. Foundational principles of the funding recommendations include accountability to ensure, protect, restore, and enhance outcomes. The conservation-focused opportunities that provide multiple benefits are timely and of value to fish and wildlife. Proposals are backed by science to address the greatest conservation need and align with approved conservation plans. And it's a competitive process in which immediacy of need, capacity of the organization, leverage, community commitment, and other criteria are applied. There were funding requests this year totaling over $513 million. If passed, this year's recommended funding would support 54 appropriations, totaling just over $191 million with the amendment as provided by Senator Herr. On behalf of Minnesotans and consistent with a legacy constitutional amendment, this year's Outdoor Heritage Fund recommended appropriations will achieve the following outputs. 68,754 acres of wildlife habitat throughout Minnesota is estimated to be restored, enhanced, and/or protected. 40 miles of shoreline protected, restored, and enhanced. A leverage of $15,129,000 in partner support. 29 individual organizations will partnering to accomplish this work, including 2 state agencies, 11 local units of government, 1 university, and 15 nonprofit organizations. And with that, members, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Joe Pavelko to walk through the details of this year's appropriations bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. Again, Joe Pavelko, the Assistant Director with the Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage staff. I want to bring your attention to the middle portion of our handout. On the left side of the page, we have things broken down by output of acres, and then on the right side, output of funding. We break things down by activities, where those activities are within the ecological sections of the state. If you look in the middle of the handout there, there's a map that has 5 different ecological sections. That's how we track the outputs. And then we also further break down activities within the ecological section by resource type. So if you look at the top left, acres by activity, it's broken down by restore. Restore means you're taking something that has no habitat value and restoring it to where there's actual habitat. So that could be going from black dirt or no wetland to a wetland. Protect and fee with PILT. That means all state lands that after the DNR acquires it, they will be making a PILT payment. Protect and fee without PILT, those are for lands that aren't making PILT payments, so that would be the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, county lands, state lands, park lands, those kinds of things. Protect and easement, those are private land easements, permanently protected conservation easements, and then enhance our definition is taking lands that already have habitat and making them better. So you can see the wide range of output numbers from enhance, where you have a lot of acres that you can do, to restore, which takes a lot more work to do, and that's why you have fewer acres in restore and a lot more acres in enhance. I wanted to talk about the activity acres and one outlier. And one thing that we did notice this year is that the protectant fee with PILT and without PILT is actually much higher than normal. So from 2009 to 2025, the total average fee title acres acquired was 9,830. And this year, in this year's bill, the total acres is 35,000, or just over 35,000. And that's mainly because there's two large projects in northeast Minnesota, which we'll talk about later. So if you removed those two projects, and those two projects total 30,490 acres, you're left with 4,595 acres. So about average, a little less than average for what the council normally allocates. But because of those two projects, the total looks a lot more. Moving on to the right side of the page, oftentimes we get a question about how much money goes to the metro. How many acres are done in the metro? How does this compare to other parts of the state? So annually, our recommendations from the council is about 4.5% of total acres and 11.8% of total funding goes to the metro. And this year's allocation is 3.8% of the total acres and 9.2% of the total funding. And we think that's just because of the two large projects just shift, the available dollars. If you want to turn to the back side of the page or of the handout, this is the list of all of the projects. And I wanted to just talk through a few of them. On the left side of the page, it has the name of the project, and you'll find that in the bill. And then in the middle column there, it has the partner names, and you'll see some that have partnerships. So if you just look 4 down, it says Fox Lake Conservation League, DU, and TCF. So the first partner there is the one who's the main lead of that project, and then DU and TF are partners. Each partner actually gets a contract with the DNR, so if you look in the bill, there's money that's appropriated directly to them. So it's not that one partner is getting all the money and then allocating it out to different partners. Everybody has a set contract, and they're doing set things. The two projects that I wanted to talk with you under Forest is under subdivision 3 is 3A and 3B, and that's the Northern Forest Legacy Project, and that's in by the DNR in St. Louis County. That's for $25 million, and that's to do, they're acquiring land from the Conservation Fund, and the Conservation Fund bought out the potlatch lands, and so that's where they're getting those large amount of acres. So half the money is going to the DNR and half of the acres are going to the DNR, and those will become state forest and wildlife management areas and possibly AMAs. And then 9,689 acres are going to St. Louis County. St. Louis County will put those into their forest management system, and they'll manage them just like their standard county forests. And then subdivision 3B, which is right under there, that's the Sand Lake 7 Beavers acquisition, and that's led by the Nature Conservancy, and that's in Cook County, or Lake County, I believe, and that's a little over 11,000 acres. TNC will own the land. They're going to pay taxes on the land. They'll allow, harvest of the trees. It's not going to be a total preserve. It's open to the public, but again, they're going to be paying taxes. Part of that will go to the DNR, possibly, maybe around 200 acres. They're still working that out. And then Riola Woods, which is another nonprofit up there that manages timberlands, they're getting about 1,600 acres or so. So those are the two outliers. We have 3 other projects that normally we did something a little different with the council. If you look at subdivision 4F, that's Talcott Lake. That's money going to the DNR to restore Talcott Lake down in Cottonwood County. That's a big shallow lake famous for waterfall use. And then if you look down, further down, subdivision 5T, Little Cannon River Stream Habitat Restoration, and subdivision 5Z. And that's Minnesota Statewide Trout Habitat Enhancement and Protection Project. That's going to Trout Unlimited. The council, because there were so many requests and there's only so much money to go around, and the council and partners have been hearing that it's harder and harder to get permits on to do stream restorations. So to free up some of the money, the council decided to allocate the design and engineering work for these 3 partners to get that all done, figure out exactly what those construction costs are, and then they'll come later in a year or two to the council to request those construction funds. So that's something that normally we don't do, but I think, with the crunch to try and find funding for all of these projects, that was a good way to do it. And then I'll just, again, remind you, subdivision 6, so this is the second to last project on the very bottom of the page. It's subdivision 6C, technical evaluation panel, and that money goes to the DNR. Every year, 97A.056 subdivision 10E requires that at least 1/10% of all of the receipts in the Outdoor Heritage Fund must be used for restoration enhancement evaluations. That goes to the DNR. They will randomly review projects that OHF has paid for, and they review them to make sure they're meeting the requirements of OHF, make sure that the wetlands are restored, that they have the right vegetation, all those different types of things. So there's a checks and balances in there. And again, that's 1/10% every year that's required. And then also I'll just call your attention to the map that was also in your packet. That's just a map of all of the projects that have been completed to date. It's thousands and thousands of projects. And you can go online, and Mr. Mueller likes talking about the online the online project system that we have. But you can go online and look at all the different projects and see how they were funded and where they are. And with that, Mr. Chair, I think we're done. Can answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pavelko. Any questions for these two before we move forward?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Hur?
If you don't mind, I'd like to make the A6 amendment so that the bill is complete.
Sure.
And then, that will be require DNR to make a little presentation too. And then members can ask the question on the whole bill. The A6 amendment is to give DNR deadline extension to the CARP return on Lock-in Dam number 5. Yes, Senator.
Senator Hoffman.
Mr. Chair, I didn't want to interrupt him. He's going to make the motion for the A6, and then I want to have a question regarding the A6 amendment.
Got it. So, Senator Hur, you moved the A6 amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move the A6 amendment.
Great. And discussion. Senator Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the DNR, we're going to move the date line again. What I really want to know, I have two questions, Mr. Chair. And the first one is what are we doing, the DNR taking to ensure that it will meet the amended design deadline and then the final installation deadline? And then I have a follow-up. If they could answer that, that would be great.
Yes, I'd like to call the DNR up. And my concern was the same too. I did have the answer for myself, but it's good to have the DNR here for requesting an extension. This is just on the design part, not the installation part.
And Mr. Chair, then as long as the DNR is up there, then you want to write this down too. If you're looking at, is there enough room in the amended project timeline for the possible significant installation delays that are either due to weather and or floods? So there's that, the what if factor too. That would be, and that's the group of my questions.
Welcome to the committee. If you could introduce yourself for the record and go ahead and answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, committee members. I'm Kelly Pennington. I'm the Invasive Species Unit Supervisor at the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. With respect to the question about what steps we're taking to ensure completion by the revised deadline, which would push that out 1 year from the current deadline in the appropriations language, we are currently in contract with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and they've already begun the design. As part of them creating the project management plan for this project, they have a timeline laid out that currently predicts the design will be complete by February 2027. We're looking at some interim design milestones that are coming up, the 65% design, which will allow us to begin looking at some permitting and regulatory pieces, will begin or will be complete in July 2026, again, according to that current project management plan. To the second question regarding construction, this amendment would not change the appropriation deadline, and our timeline for the construction remains the same as what we had originally predicted. We're looking at the winter of 2027 to 2028 to do the construction. As far as, no, go ahead.
No, please finish your comment.
You mentioned mitigating for risks, things like floods and delays. This is the third selective invasive carp deterrent in the U.S. It's the second of its kind and the first one at Lock and Dam 5. So I think what we've tried to do is identify those risks. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in the project management plan and through the design process will also keep in close communication with those risks if they do come up.
Mr. Chair, yeah, this is the issue came up when the good senator from St. Paul, the east side of St. Paul, first started to talk about this deterrent in this committee. It was, with much grandeur, and then to hear about all the why it's not getting done the way it's getting done. And part of my question gets to, is it still a priority with the DNR to get it done? And it sounds like it is, and it. But what are the mitigating factors that are there? Because some of us won't be back here next year, and some of us will be back here next year, right? And so the people that are here, they were going to ask the same question, and I would hope that we still stay in lock and dam 5, that we still stay in lock to stop that from happening up here in Minnesota. So thank you for your information. That was gathered well, so I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Hoffman. We're still on the A6 amendment, so discussion on Senator Herr.
Thank you, and I appreciate Senator Hoffman's questions as well, so that it's transparent for members here to know. This is a bipartisan support, and all credit, or not just me, but I also recall, our late Senator Thomas Sonny was initiator of this as well. So I just want to give shout out credit for our predecessor. And it's a bipartisan support. It's a project that needs to be done, and I'd like to get done, carefully, but well and expediently. We just have to extend the time for them to have a design. And appreciate the question from Senator Hoffman. So I move again the amendment number 6.
Okay. Those in favor of the A6 say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The A6 is adopted. So the bill is that it is, and we stand by for any question or any further amendment that members may have. Okay. Senator Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will have some amendments, but I think that the other testifiers that are on the list are here for that amendment. Maybe not the supervisor of the DNR, but possibly. But I have a couple of questions for the Lessard Sam's staff, and I'm not gonna probably. Well, I will direct my questions at the director, but seeing as how you're new, you are certainly welcome to refer to your executive director. Mr. Chair, the first question that I have is, you've got 35,000 acres of land, which is unbelievable increase in what we're usually fighting for. And the first, you're looking at it, and it always says to protect with PILT. Well, and just to keep in mind, payment in lieu of taxes is PILT, and it comes from tax dollars. So we're taking tax dollars to pay tax dollars. I hope everybody keeps that in mind. But you got, and then you protect and fee without PILT. Who are you protecting it from?
Mr. Chair, thank you, Senator Green, and I will defer to Assistant Director Pavelko to that question.
Mr. Chair and members, I don't think we're protecting it from anyone. Our definition of protect is to protect land permanently. So when we are acquiring, or when our partners are acquiring land, they put a notice of funding restriction on the property, which means that it cannot be used for anything other than the purposes of the Outdoor Heritage Fund. So that means if it's acquired for forestry or wetland habitat, it has to stay in wetland habitat. That's our definition is to protect it, meaning it's permanent, and it stays in wildlife habitat.
Mr. Chair, I have an issue with that because in in the book, which apparently not too many people read, it even for the 20,000 acres that is in here in St. Louis County, which, by the way, St. Louis County, I believe, is already 90% publicly owned, and now you're taking more. Is actually, with what's in there now, I think that out of the 4.5 million acres, they're going to have about 4.5 million left, or 450 million left, to 450,000 left. Okay, they're not going to have very much left for people to go out and build homes on. We're struggling to keep people in our state, in our home, in our area. We're digging for jobs. We're passing money to try to make homes available, and the state is buying actually 35,000 acres in that district because then there's 9,800 in Cook County, which is, I think, probably even, well, there's more public land in Cook County already. You're establishing a state forest, and earlier this year, the DNR did a memorandum of understanding with the White Earth Nation to manage the White Earth State Forest, and the DNR came in here and told us they didn't have the money to manage the state forest or the parks, and they want an increase, and we're buying more. And that's a problem. Another question that I have, I hear a lot about the fact that the Lessard Sam's Council vets the projects. They spend all kinds of time vetting the projects. The question is, do you ever look at the ramifications of the projects on the people around the area that you're working on?
Mr. Chair and members, that's a interesting question. So that, when proposers bring their projects into the council looks at a multiple different things. They look at the cost, they look at where they're doing the work, the different types of work, and they do often talk about, well, how do the local residents feel about it? There's been projects that the local residents have come to the council and said, we have some reservations about this project, and there's always discussion about that. There was one project, I think it was 2 years ago, related to the dam removal project in Rochester, and there was quite a bit of discussion with that, but everything got worked out. There's always a discussion about that. The other thing that we also do in 97A.056 requires, it's a recent amendment to that statute that requires that all projects where you're doing fee title acquisition, we have to notify all of the counties in the state. And we give them a list, we send them an email, and we list out all of the projects that are going to be acquiring lands in their counties, and they have an opportunity to, come to the council and talk with us about it. So, it is a very important part of what we do. And, I know just from being a previous manager of OHF projects that, the last thing you want to do is be doing work and not have any public support, because you don't get very far doing that. So it is something that the council does look into.
Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm very glad to hear that, because we're going to have some questions here later. At this point, I have more questions, but at this point, because I have testifiers that drove probably 6.5 hours to get here, Mr. Chair, I would like to offer an amendment, the A7 amendment, and get that passed out. And then there are some testifiers on the list, and I'll leave that up to you, but if we could get them to come and testify on one project in particular in the bill. And what my amendment does is it removes a project in the bill, and it's on page 10. Page 10, it deletes line 1 through 7. And I'm just going to give a quick background of this before the testifiers come up. This, in your book, where, by the way, you say you asked for county input, but on most of the projects, the county approval is not sought. The only time it's sought is if the counties are in favor of the project. But this particular bill, or portion in the bill, talks about the Roseau Lake project and the Roseau River project. And it says it's, well, now it's gone up, but it's $3.55 million going into this. There happens to be lawsuits against this. It says, in the book, it tells us it's going to enhance 3,000 acres, but it doesn't mention the fact that if they enhance that 3,000 acres the way they want, they're going to be flooding back 12,600 acres of private farmland. So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the A7 amendment.
Senator Green moves the A7 amendment. And I believe we do have several testifiers. Given how many we have, we just want to remind people that we are looking at a 2-minute time limit. So Cara will make sure that she has a timer. And we'll sort of go down the list, and I'll let folks know that they're on deck. Senator Drazkowski?
What, is there a reason we have a 2-minute time limit for these people? I haven't seen us limit time here.
Senator Drazkowski, at various times throughout committees, we limit time in order to get through the agenda that we have, and especially when we have a lot of testifiers.
These people drove 6.5 hours to get here, Mr. Chair. I think we should hear them.
Yeah, we will absolutely hear them.
2 minutes if it takes.
We will absolutely hear them. We will. Thank you, Senator Drazkowski. So I'm going to go through the list, and I'll name who's up first and then who's on deck. Just so that we can move through the list. First up, we have Debbie Stone, and on deck we have Eric Cardall. And I might be mispronouncing, but just wanted to make sure people know who's on deck. Welcome to the committee. Thank you so much for traveling so far and being here today. If you could introduce yourself for the record and go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you to the committee for having us and allowing us to have this opportunity to tell you a little bit about the project and our history. My name is Debbie Stone. I represent the Minnesota Landowners Coalition. So we started several years ago with actually the Roseau Landowners Coalition, and we expanded it out. We started with about 20 families that were very concerned about what was being planned and going on in the district. And we are now a coalition of 75 landowners. And as Senator Green mentioned, we have some very serious concerns with the type of funding that's gone forward and the massive impacts that they have for our families and our farms. In addition to representing the coalition, I'm also the great-granddaughter of a landowner who homesteaded our farm. And, you know, my father is in his 80s, is farming that land, but all of our family is extremely involved in the business. And our other landowners locally are extremely engaged. And if any of you have been to Roseau County, you know that there's Polaris, there's Marvin Windows, and there's agriculture. Those are the big industries. These projects would literally change the entire landscape of that area, 12,600 acres of private lands, not to mention the public lands that they're planning on flooding. It is a massive undertaking. We've done what we can to make our voices heard, and I will tell you, we've asked to speak, we've asked to have meetings, we've tried to be at the table, and it has not happened in any significant way. Today you're going to hear from several landowners on how this project affects them personally, emotionally, financially, all of it. We have had to leverage our own legal counsel, our own experts, hydrologists looking at these projects, and every one of them comes out with the same input, that these will catastrophically affect our operations. So I don't want to take too much of the committee's time. We do have other people here that want to talk to you. We want to talk about the complete and total lack of transparency the fact that we have not been involved, the fact that literally we are looking at violations of our constitutional rights because of the huge takings. And I just want to say that this has been our industry for over 120 years, these families. You're asking people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s to pivot, to create another source of income for themselves. It's a difficult role, and it's a difficult balance for me. I very much appreciate your roles as elected leaders, and I hope that you can hear these people out and agree with us that we at least need to pause funding. The types of commitments that have been made to this project it's disheartening, quite frankly. And we're asking you to pause. We have had a legal case going on for over a year. We're looking at adding, there's over 40 plaintiffs now, and we're looking at amending it. It will not sort itself out to the fall. And we ask you to please pause funding so that the court can do its work and can help us. We did consult Senator Johnson, and a legal path was the only recommendation that we could search out. We're not the kind of people that want to be in this position. We've been forced to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Stone. And again, appreciate you coming all this way. Up next, we have Eric Cardall, and on deck, we have Kurt Kveen. Thank you so much for being here. If you could introduce yourself for the record and go ahead with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Senators. My name is Eric Cardall. I'm an attorney. I've spent 30-some years suing the government in the judicial branch, and it's a privilege to talk to this branch here about this project. And the last time I testified to a Senate committee, it was a Commerce Committee, and I told them that a statute was unconstitutional. And after my testimony, it was found to be unconstitutional by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit. So I'm here talking about Minnesota Statute 97A.056, and there's a limitation that it can't be used for unconsensual eminent domain, taking private property by construction or by flooding. And this particular project violates all those rules. The problem here is Chapter 117, in a spirit of bipartisan support. 117 was amended many years ago so that we have, in Minnesota, we have the best protections procedurally and money-wise to protect private property owners from takings like these that are occurring under this project. But at the time, Chapter 117 an exception was made for 103D, 103E, which allows watershed districts and drainage authorities to completely avoid that. Now, typically, these proceedings, 103D, 103E, result in smaller projects, but we now have 103D, 103 on steroids because of this funding, and we're seeing massive projects. Here's the problem with this project. Physical seizures have been documented. Removal of 120 truckloads of native soil from private embankments that was uncompensated resulted in a federal lawsuit. And an installation of a permanent weir on private property, which again was an uncompensated physical taking of private land. Use of cutoff plugs to intentionally flood productive farmland. Unrecorded easements. The district claims with project money that they have 50 to 80-foot right-of-way easements along the drainage property. And most importantly, the baseline shift. So when all this engineering is done, according to the case law, it must be done per the last improvement. The vested property rights are the last improvement. Here, the 1916 drainage ditch, which was such a wonder of the world that was written up in the Minnesota Engineer magazine. And so the 1916 ditch hasn't been repaired adequately for over 100 years. And so these engineering reports you're paying for are basically using the current conditions as pre-project conditions, resulting in a deprivation of the original hydraulic capacity of the ditch since 1916, and basically depriving these farmers maybe 20, 30 square miles of their drainage rights. This is under Minnesota state law, 100 years of consistent state law, and here you have this private taking through this funding on steroids. It's a huge, huge serial violation of the law. It's a violation of the 97A.056 restriction on the use of these funds for private eminent domain takings without the consent of the owner. It's a violation of the requirement to pay compensation and engage in 117 proceedings when the government's taking private property. I testified, as I mentioned, couple years ago regarding a statute being unconstitutional. I was right. So I find myself before a state Senate committee, a different one, saying this is really legally problematic. I'm here to talk to anyone on the committee if you want to walk through these arguments. When I spoke to the Watershed District Board that was the sponsor of this project, I was treated like air. Absolutely air. I've been practicing in the courts for 30 years, and they weren't listening to me. They're watching their cell phones, whatever. And it was just really just, where is the accountability? I mean, all this money being spent, all this private land ruined, and who cares if the law is being violated? Now, the state Senate Commerce Committee last time I testified didn't care. And the 3 U.S. Court of Appeals judges said that's unconstitutional. I think we should avoid this. If it doesn't happen, we'll add a state law claim to our federal lawsuit saying that 97A.056 limitation is being violated. That's not a threat. It's just we have to follow the law. And I'm not a canary in a coal mine. This is already going on. The land is being flooded in the Roseau Lake project, and the funding should be stopped. And I'm glad to work with the executive director here, because I'm sure the executive director wants these projects to be bipartisan. And the purpose of the law was to ensure, and I'll finish up here, the purpose of the law was to ensure that the projects were bipartisan and didn't involve private property being taken without the consent of the landowner. And that's happened here again and again and again, and eventually it'll be up to 30 square miles. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sir, if you could just stay there for just 1 second, I'm going to jump to question Senator Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this goes to Senator Herr. Are you aware, are we, I guess it's a series of questions, are we in an active lawsuit right now regarding this part of land? Yes or no?
Senator Hoffman, yes.
So, Mr. Chair, and Senator Green, I have to support. I'm not interested in letting the legislature settle litigation. Right? There's courts that are having an active conversation right now, and this happens all the time in the different places that I'm at. But I would be in support of the Green Amendment on this, Senator Herr. I think, you know, by putting this in. Well, let me ask this question. I'm not a lawyer. I played one time in a play, but I'm not a lawyer. But if we were to accept the Green Amendment and remove this, the litigation is still ongoing until there's a decision to be made. Correct?
That is correct, and you know, if I'm not correct, my helpline will justify the answer, but it is correct. And if we put this on hold, the consequences of that is a setback. And when we start it again, it will cost our state more dollars.
So, Mr. Chair, just as a follow-up, I'm glad you came with that. But it makes zero sense to me that we would in a sense be making a decision. We put this in here, and basically there's litigation going on, right? And we don't know the outcome of that litigation. So why do we want to legislate when there's active litigation is the question that comes up. And I can name a whole bunch of laws that were the Department of Human Services, the Jensen Settlement Accord. That was, an active litigation. The waiting list, there was two, one in 2001, and there was one that just happened 5 years ago. You don't want to legislate if there's litigation going on. This stops it. I don't like how this feels. So I would be in support of the Green Amendment is to put a pause on this, and if the cost is going to be more, then we're putting cost ahead of people. That's a problem for me on that one. So the DNR needs to do a little better job of explaining this piece of it. So does that make sense?
Thank
Senator
you,
Herr.
Senator Hoffman, for posing that question. And can I have have Joel appear and explain? Or
Absolutely.
I think there's someone that will be speaking to answer your question there in length, as they're listed here as a testifier as well, right?
So, Senator Herr, if I understood correctly, you're going to have somebody come up, or what was the?
Right, that's correct.
Okay.
Did you want to request a question of Kelly?
Yes, Tracy, if I can call Tracy Hauschild, the administrator of Rosen River Watershed.
And Mr. Chair, this is to answer Senator Hoffman's questions?
To answer Senator Hoffman and question, or later we can listen to all the testimony and then have further question after that.
Okay, I do have two other senators that wanted to comment, if that's okay, and then I think we can go to Miss. I won't pronounce that last name, but I'll go to her next. So Senator Wiesenberg, and yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as I was listening, it sounds like this is around 20 to 30 miles of land that might be flooded. So then I thought, well, what would that be in the metro area? So I just used my pencil to measure what 20 miles is and did it on the map. That'd be like flooding Shakopee east to Inver Grove Heights, or Shakopee north to Maple Grove, and then Maple Grove over to White Bear Lake, and White Bear Lake to Inver Grove Heights. So that's got Shakopee, Bloomington, Eden Prairie, Diana, Richfield, Hopkins, Minnetonka, St. Louis Park, Golden Valley, Plymouth, Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park, Columbia Heights, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Mendota Heights, Egan, Maplewood, Roseau, Vadnais Heights. These are all in there. So if this was happening here, would we push this bill through? Would we stop it? Because we wouldn't want to flood all these communities, right? So we have to take that into account. It's just something to think about as we're moving forward. Thank you.
Senator Herr.
Mr. Chair, I know that members are eager to ask questions, but perhaps if we listen to all the testifier, that shed some light for us to hear all angles before we make the final decision. And my decision is not set in stone just yet. I'm just looking at protecting the integrity of the bill, but I want to listen to the resident, the stakeholder, and also even the director herself and the assistant director, so we can make the right decision, whether in this committee or as I travel further to the finance committee, that I will continue to work with Senator Green on this, and then it will go to the floor. So I want us to hear all the testifiers before we have a discussion and debate on this.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I figured we were specific to the moment, but I agree with you. We'll move on with testimony, and then we'll jump, unless, do you have something specific?
Just something very
Senator
quick.
Johnson Stewart.
I do have questions after, but I did look up the project, and I just want to clarify. I do have several questions, but it's 20 square miles. So with all due respect to Senator Wiesenberg, it's roughly the size of like a 5 mile by 4 mile square. It looks like it's a lake. And so I just wanted to clarify that. It's not 20 linear miles, but I do. That's my fault. Oh, no. I do have lots of questions. I think we're on the same side here. All right, I'll wait.
Okay, excellent. So we're going to move on with testimony. We're going to move to Mr. Kurt Kveen, and on deck remotely is Tracy Halstengard. Mr. Kveen. Welcome to the committee. Thanks for traveling all this way. If you could introduce yourself for the record and go ahead with your testimony.
Sure,
Thanks for being here.
It's an honor to be here. My name is Kurt Kveen. I'm both a proud landowner in Roseau and now a farmer in Roseau County. For 14 years, my family has opposed the Roseau River Watershed District's proposal for this project. Throughout this time, we've consulted with many professionals, experts, all who have agreed that our farmland would flood. We have fought tirelessly to protect our farms. Initially, we were told this project was flood control, then later it was described as a duck habitat. The true purpose really remains unclear, but in reality, it will mean intentional flooding of our fields with no plan for any remediation. It's just not fair. Our family has homesteaded this area, farmed its land since 1890s. One of the hardest things I've seen is to watch my father and uncle, started this project, recently retired, and have spent their entire retirements fighting this project. This all started when they were 70, now they're 84. There's not a day gone by that our family hasn't discussed this at length. hoping for some better news, maybe a new idea of some way to protect our land. We take immense pride in our land. It's not something we've inherited. My father, uncle, and now I have bought this land. I respect their vision. They wanted something special to pass on to future generations. Unfortunately, in their retirement, it's been marked only by frustration, stress, fear. Like I said, this started when they were 70, now they're 84. That's really hard on, it's aged them. These are significant issues that deeply impact rural families. Please stop funding this project. Give us and our neighbors a chance to save our farms. I believe with the facts and truths on our side, we can save our farms and our rights. And again, thank you for the time.
Thank you again so much for being here. Up next, we have Tracy Halstengard on remote, and on deck we have Maxwell Becker, who's also remote. Ms. Halstengard, if you could introduce yourself for the record and go ahead with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Tracy Halstengard. I'm the administrator for the Roseau River Watershed District. Just a little bit more details on the background of the project. It restarted as a project team project back in 2014. In the Red River Valley, we have gone through with the DNR a mediation process, and a mediation agreement was put in place in 1998. Through that process, we work with all of the permitting agencies and landowners and funding partners to develop these large-scale projects in the Red River Valley. A lot of additional data and work plan has gone into the development of these projects. We have technical papers in the Red River Valley saying how to reduce flooding and what kind of scope and scale is needed for that. And so we spent about 10 years developing this project, hosting meetings. We had committees that worked with the permitting process, the design of the project. We had landowners involved in the various committees, including some of the ones that are were on the list to testify today. We worked through the majority of their questions and concerns through that time. Keeping in mind, this was a drained lake basin, a historic lake basin that we're talking about. The majority of the land, over 5,000 acres, just about 5,500 acres, is currently WMA land. We worked with the majority of the adjacent landowners where we needed to acquire either fee title or easement land, and we were able to do that with the majority of them. The ones who did not want to participate, they did not want to sell or provide an easement for flowage or for permanent structure, we were able to go around them. We were able to utilize publicly owned state land to address their concerns and move away from their properties. I do have one of the landowners with me today who lives right adjacent to the project and has been a supporter of the project throughout the development. We were able to start construction in 2024, and we have completed phase 1, phase 2, the majority of phase 3, and have started on phase 5 construction phases for the project in the scope of work of about $9 million in just construction has been spent so far. Now we have addressed a lot of the issues and concerns of adjacent landowners and downstream. We have a lot of, although you've heard today about the folks who are opposed to it, we also have a lot of people locally in favor of it. We will be reducing frequent flood events for adjacent landowners for agricultural land in the 2-year, 5-year, and 10-year events. So the more frequent flood events, their farmland and cropland adjacent to and downstream of the project is going to be more productive. Our modeling and the work that we've done in those 10 years of work has not shown any backup on private lands outside of the footprint of the project. I wanted to say that there's additional benefits, both flood damage reduction and the habitat component. There's over 5,000 acres of WMA that will have improved control, water control, to be able to reduce the bounce in the spring for nesting, ideally be able to add water in the fall to provide feeding and resting areas for the fall migration. And the weir that was mentioned earlier was used to restore about 2.5 miles of original Roseau River, and it was placed in a what was a State Dish 51 cutoff channel. And it's a low water bypass is what it is. So only low water is impacted and rerouted through the natural stream channel. So it was about 2.5 miles of stream restoration that was completed with that weir. So this is a habitat and flood damage reduction project. In our watershed district, over 40% of it is publicly owned properties. So we try to work with the DNR, and this is our third project with them to try and maximize the benefits of those lands that are already in public ownership. And we have gotten resolutions of support from the county as well as the city of Roseau for this project. So there is support out there, please know that. We're about 60% complete on construction of the project. So we're hoping that we are able to continue on and continue the work that this is between us and the DNR, this was our third allocation from the Lessard Sam's Council for construction of this project. So if you have any questions for myself or for James Johnson, who is a landowner adjacent, I'm willing to answer those questions for you today.
Thank you so much. We're going to move to the next testifier. We have Maxwell Becker up next, and on deck we have Vanjie Bulfligren, and they're also on remote. So please introduce yourself for the record and go ahead with your testimony, Mr. Maxwell Becker, excuse me.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Loud and clear? Great. My name is Maxwell Becker. I'm an attorney with Mormon, Cardall, and Erickson. You heard from Mr. Cardall earlier. I'm here today to present evidence that the Roseau River Watershed District is in direct violation of the statutory floor of the Outdoor Heritage Fund. Under Minnesota statutes, section 97A.056, the law is unambiguous. Outdoor heritage money, quote, shall not be spent to acquire property by eminent domain unless the owner requests that acquisition. It's a consent-based fund. Yet the district is using these habitat dollars to force through a project against the explicit documented will of the people that actually live there. We heard a little bit about how there is some support for the project. Well, I'm here to tell you as a litigator that lawsuits are not fun. And as a person driving 8.5 hours or longer from Roseau to testify in opposition to the project isn't something that people do, again, just for fun. This has real impact on real people. And you're seeing it here. In 2022, there were mass protests present actually at the Capitol in Minnesota, putting the state on notice that the farmland and homes were being targeted for intentional flooding. And the important thing here is without their consent. The landowners are here because they have not consented to the intentional flooding. There were some formal objections and petitions. There are 30 plus landowners who have filed a formal legal protest and petition against the district's Alternative 1 plan. They've identified over 100 landowners and 12,600 acres who are at risk. Again, none of these people are requesting that their property be taken, right? There was also prior litigation that was actually settled. Landowners were forced to file a lawsuit in 2024 for the wrongful destruction and removal of soil and trespass on their property. We won a settlement in that case, proving that the district's physical actions were not only non-consensual, as you're going to hear a lot about, I'm sure, today, but were legally wrongful. They were not justified or legal. And we're now in the discovery and summary judgment phase. Senators spoke about that a little earlier about the active litigation. We're currently in litigation here now, survived beyond the motion to dismiss phase. We're in discovery and summary judgment. These kind of lawsuits are the ultimate expression of non-consent. It's challenging the unconstitutional use of chapters 103D and E to bypass eminent domain protections that Americans are entitled to. We've also had more landowners contacting us with concerns over uncompensated physical takings of property due to the outdoor heritage funded Roseau River Watershed District projects. And despite the mountains of evidence, the protests, petitions, multiple lawsuits, the district continues to receive and spend outdoor heritage money as if this were a consensual project. It frankly just is not. By funding a project that involves taking land from owners who are actively suing to stop it, the state is violating the core mandate of the Outdoor Heritage Fund, and I urge this committee to stop the funding until the district can prove that it has the consent required by law. Thank you all.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to Vanjie Bolfulgren and on deck, Monica Doman. Welcome to the committee. If you could introduce yourself for the record and go ahead with your testimony.
Yes, dear Chairman, and yes, please. Dear Chairman and members of the committee, good afternoon to all of you. My name is Vanjie Bolfulgren, and you're not the first one that pronounced it incorrectly, so don't feel bad. I reside here in Roseau County. I am requesting that the funding in the Roseau River Watershed District be halted. The community is very concerned with finished projects that are not maintained. In fact, there are many projects that the district has undertaken where the community has registered major concerns with a lack of maintenance that affects the farming and the crop production. The problem is they do not follow through, and there are several thistles and foxtails and other weeds that grow into the farmland, so it makes a real problem. With regard to the Roseau Lake Rehabilitation Project and the Roseau River Restoration Project, a federal lawsuit involving about 100 landowners up here, and this involves about 12,600 acres of private farmland. The people's homes, their livestock barns, Quonset, and other buildings, they're all at risk. The lawsuit alleges multiple constitutional violations, including the eminent domain abuse of local landowners, and myself, my family. We are all being affected by this. Expert hydrologists have even found that the project will not reduce flooding as it originally promised. This could displace farmers, families, and harm the local economy of farming. The district has not properly identified private lands within the project area. This leads to an underestimated cost and conceals true impact of the project, an issue that is very central to this federal case. Historical land improvements and investments have also been ignored. This represented property values and effects of the real project. Meaningful public participation has been lacking. Promised documents have been withheld, and the meetings proceeded without proper engagement. One of the farmers that attended a meeting was told, yes, you can speak, but we will not listen and we will not be responding. The district has provided incomplete information and has already begun construction despite ongoing objections and legal counsel involvement. For these reasons, I urge the committee to pause funding until legal and procedural matters are resolved. Our landowner group, coalition, and legal team are here to continue and further discuss this project. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for being with us, Ms. Bufulgren. I think I maybe still didn't get it right, but I appreciate your testimony. Up next, we have Monica Doman, and on deck, we have Mitchell Magnuson. If you could introduce yourself for the record and go ahead with your testimony.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Monica Doman, and I've been observing the actions of the Rosal River Watershed District since 2014. There's been a lack of meaningful citizen participation opportunities for the public involvement that's been very minimal. For example, several citizens volunteered to serve on an operations committee for the Rosal Lake project, and they were told by a DNR representative that they would receive a draft of the operations document for review. 2 weeks later, the DNR representative stated he had decided not to share it. The draft was then presented and approved at a meeting before the operations committee members had even met. Another concern is about transparency and public process transparency. It has always been inconsistent. The Watershed District routinely provides incomplete information, and then they use meeting attendance to claim public support, even when the attendees do not agree. And if some have clearly voiced their disagreement, it's reported as minimized or dismissed as insignificant. Given these and many more issues, I respectfully ask that the funding for this project be paused until the current lawsuit is resolved in court. Only then can a fully informed and responsible decision be made. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Up next, we have Mitchell Magnuson.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you. If you could introduce yourself for the record and go ahead with your testimony. Thanks so much.
Yep, thank you. My name is Mitch Magnuson. I'm from Rosal, Minnesota. I've been involved with this project since day one as I was farming a lot of the land right around this project. And I'm speaking as one of the many landowners directly impacted by the proposed Rosal Lake project. I'm a member of the Minnesota Landowners Coalition and here to respectfully but firmly oppose funding for this project based on fundamental issues in the planning process that have undermined its legitimacy and its stated objectives. First and most importantly, 3 hydrologists have now reviewed the project and confirmed that contrary to the project's stated intent, the affected land will be subject to flooding. This expert confrontation directly contradicts assurances previously given by the Watershed District and further demonstrates that current approach fails to protect landowners and meet the project's core objectives. We've already seen 3 feet of water backed up behind the dam that they put in, and we've also had water backing up on private land because of this weir that they put in. They're also building dikes that are 4.5 feet taller than the private dikes that protect these private farmlands from flooding. Bottom line is that we're already seeing flooding from this project, and it's not even completed yet. The Rosal River Watershed District initially assured and the public that it would create stakeholder groups, including landowners, in both the project team and operating committee to ensure meaningful participation and transparency. However, these commitments were not honored. Instead, the Watershed District advanced the project while bypassing landowner involvement in these critical decision-making bodies. This exclusion has eroded trust in the process and raised significant concerns about fairness and openness. For these reasons, I respectfully urge the Council to withhold funding for the Rosal Lake project until the planning process is corrected to include genuine landowner representation, address conflicts of interest, and ensure the project will achieve its stated goals. Thank you for your attention on these critical issues and for your commitment to responsible stewardship of public resources. And I guess I'd just like to add that I was on that operations committee, and I was also on the project work team committee. The project work team committees, we met with the DNR and ourselves. The landowner's biggest concern was the project itself and how it was being built, where the DNR were more concerned with getting the paperwork, the concurrence points and stuff like this that needed to get done for them to move on with the project. So I guess if anybody has any questions for me or anything, I can, I'll be more than glad to answer them now or later. So I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Magnuson. We do have Tracy Halstengard, I believe, has her hand raised for one additional point of testimony, and then we'll open it up for discussion. Ms. Halstengard, are you still there? There you go.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. Mrs. Bufflin Vanjie was one of the first landowners who approached the watershed district to sell property when we first started talking about the project back in 2014. And her and her husband sold the watershed district 100 acres for the project at that time. And I also just wanted to clarify, we had over 15 public events in the planning process that folks, we had open houses, we had informational meetings, we had public hearings. We followed the process required by us in 103D, watershed project law, 103D, I think it was 605. So some of the things that are presented today, we did through that 10-year process, actually very much reach out to folks and allow folks to be a part of the process. It is not a one person can stop the project process. It's a consensus building process. So we went forward with different alternatives that we could get consensus through the project team process on. So I just wanted to clarify a couple of those points. And again, we worked with landowners who were willing to work with us, and we did not use any sort of takings or eminent domain in any part of this project since we started talking about it. So I just wanted to clarify a couple of those things. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, we are on the A7 amendment. We've heard testimony, discussion. Senator Wiesenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to correct what I said before. Thank you for telling me my area was too big. But the point still stands, is if it were in an area where there's, many towns and 100,000 people, would we still let this bill go through? I would hope we wouldn't. And then I guess to make a point, a lady was, she sold her 100 acres in 2014. Well, did she do that because she wanted to, or did she do it because she was concerned that maybe it would be flooded and maybe it was time to just sell it? Maybe she was forced to do that. We don't know. That we just heard one side of the story. I still like what Senator Hoffman had to say is, it's in litigation. We need to stop this. You let this go forward, and we can't be the arbiters of the law. Here with Mitch Magnuson's testimony and other, I read through these testimonies. They had 3 independent hydrologists I agree with you all the time. Have reviewed the project and confirmed that contrary to the project's stated intent, the affected land will be subject to flooding. Now, if it's going to be subject to flooding, and we've had a hydrologist say that maybe we're going to be flooding people out of their homes, so we can't be doing that. So we need to look at this, and we need to tread carefully. Thank you.
Senator Herr.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make it simple, and then we can move on. But I want to pose a question to Senator Green, and maybe the testify that he brought forth, whether this is something that is just a potential flooding that they're concerned, or it has been evident of flooding already.
Senator Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Even though that question would be better off for the testifiers because they have testified that there already has been flooding, the project is not complete yet. And we have heard both from testifiers and from what I've seen, the proposal from the DNR is not just to do a bump. And I've seen this many times. It's to create duck habitat. It's to create habitat. So the intention is obviously to backfill this and let it stay underwater, and which in turn would eliminate any advantage that you would get from a bump, because now the thing is full of water, and it will be flooding. So I think it pretty much speaks for itself.
Senator Herr.
Mr. Chair, I just want to comment that this is just so that people understand this is not a partisan kind of thing. It's not regional kind of things, but and perhaps the process itself is just anomaly. where we, in the committee, Senator Lane and I sit on the committee, we heard this project and other proposal come forth. We made a decision. The lawsuit happened afterwards. So I'm glad that we hear both sides. And I appreciate Senator Green brought this forth and this legal pending. So I'll accept as a friendly amendment to this bill. I don't want to set a precedent that we allow this and then we continue to do so by just taking out project after project. Senator Lane, I think he's online now, and both him and I in a large degree agree that we should keep the bill intact as much as possible. Otherwise, it will not uphold the integrity of those who spend the whole summer, including staff and those who volunteer to be citizen board and some of us who are legislators. So we want to maintain the holistic of the bill, but in some cases similar to this is again, as I said, the process and the anomaly, but this is also an anomaly too that still evolve. And so I'd like to accept your amendment as friendly amendment.
Senator Green.
To finish up then, I appreciate that very much, and I will accept that, and I'll be wise enough to quit while I'm ahead. But I just want to tell you that integrity is important around here. And it's the integrity of the committee that you talk about, but it's also the integrity of this organization to do what you're doing now, to look at a project and do the final vetting here if that's the case. So thank you, Senator Herr.
Senator Herr.
Mr. Chair, I also want to let the folks up in Rosal know that outdoors is wide open, whether it's the staff or Executive Smither, or also the committee itself and us as legislator, outdoors open to hear their concerns. So we will not let any of their heavy heart left behind. And so I'm for this. I'm for the people. I'm glad they came to testify. And I think I'm speaking for Senator Lane as well. We're in this together.
Okay, well, with that, we will vote on the A7. Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The A7 is adopted. Members, other discussion or amendments? Senator Green.
Mr. Chair, I do have two more amendments, and I'm going to, out of respect for Senator Herr on this, I'm going to talk about these amendments and I'll withdraw them for now, but they probably won't go away. Because some of the stuff that I've talked about so far and just barely touched on is the amount of property that we have coming out of this. I mentioned it, but I'm going to restate it, that in St. Louis County, when you've got 90% of your property right now that is non-taxable, and I know that the Northwest Angle and the Duluth area, they're screaming for housing up there. They're screaming for jobs up there. And to take 20,000 acres just in St. Louis County alone, and then another 10 to 11,000 from St. Louis County and Lake County in the two amendments, my A5 and my A9 amendment, and those projects, just for your reference, are on page 6 and 7 of the bill. It doesn't make any sense. If the state of Minnesota wasn't already a third publicly owned right now, some of these projects might make sense. But when the state of Minnesota has land that they can't even manage, and they come here and tell us they can't manage it, then this stuff goes on. It's not reasonable. And I'm going to point out something else, because I know we're running short on time, and I will probably address this on the floor, is that this land was purchased by another entity. And it was done so until after the DNR could come in and get land from either the LCCMR or the Legacy Amendment, and they do this all the time. And it's disingenuous. In this bill, between the Pheasants Forever and the Ducks Unlimited, who are actually nothing more than an arm of the DNR anymore, are getting probably close. I'll look it up, but I'm not going to go through my papers. I think it's close to $30 million to run their agencies to do projects for the DNR. And it's just a cover-up. And so I'm very frustrated with that. But with that, Mr. Chair, I'll leave it open for other people to have questions, but.
Thank you, Senator Green. As the senator that represents St. Louis County and Lake County and Cook County, I know a little bit about what you're talking about. We have plenty of communities with housing projects all across St. Louis County that are going to provide the housing that we need. It's more of a funding and a development problem, not a public lands problem. And we've increased historic amounts for PILT payments for those counties in order to manage those lands. We are the gem of the state. I'm biased, the best part of the state. People get to enjoy the playground of northern Minnesota in many regards, whether it's Roseau or Grand Marais or places all across St. Louis County. So for you to introduce amendments making assumptions about my district without talking to me is unfortunate at best, but also misleading, because I know very well that there are communities all across the region with housing projects that are going to provide the housing that we need. So appreciate the sentiment, but let's talk offline
I'm going to
next time.
respond quickly. I agree with you. And if I had thought I was going to move this forward, I would have come and talked to you. But my issue is, because I agree with you, that happens to me all the time. The people come into my district and try to push bills without ever talking to me. And it's frustrating. And if I had thought that this would have gone through, I'd have been at your door. But moving people into a housing project is different than allowing them to own a 40-acre piece of land or a 20-acre piece of land to young people that can't afford land that is now up to $5,000 to $10,000 an acre. And I would really respect it if we would start thinking about that, looking ahead. For myself, I'm getting older. I don't have to worry about it, but I got 6 kids and 16 grandkids. And I'd like them to be in Minnesota.
All right, other discussion, Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wonder if Ms. Smitten knows how much that these land purchases are going to result in property tax increases in those localities. You mentioned how much, maybe Senator Hauschild, do you know how much is in your county? Is it 20,000 acres?
Senator Drazkowski, I missed exactly what you're asking me. How many acres in general?
How many acres does this bill purchase?
Oh, I don't have that number right in front of me.
I mean, if I'm, Mr. Chair, if I'm you, I'm concerned about the property tax increase that this is going to result in the rest of the people within the county. That's one of, for Senator Green and those of you up north, Senator Green and I've talked about it a lot. This is 3.5 times the amount of money that this bill, or the amount of acres that this bill normally buys. But the impact on property taxes is where the rubber hits the road. And for you guys and gals up north, representing those areas, I don't know if there's even, Ms. Smitten, do you even discuss that in the committee? Do you discuss or analyze the property tax impacts of more land taken out of the property tax rolls within those jurisdictions that you buy land from?
Mr. Chair, Senator, unfortunately, I'm so new that I wasn't even in the Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Council committee meetings. Obviously, Senator Hurst, Senator Langwer, if you would like, I'd be willing to bring up Mr. Pavelko to help answer that question, but I am not familiar with the conversations around potential impacts to property tax increases due to these funds.
So, Mr. Chair? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Smitten. Maybe Mr. Pavelko could address that question. I mean, that's where the rubber hits the road in these areas. 90% in St. Louis County. I don't know, Senator Green's county's up there. He's looking at similar numbers in some of them. So there's only so much land, and you guys keep taking it all.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. So I'll address, first I'll address the properties that are going to the DNR. So anything that the DNR acquires, there's a PILT payment. So it's the 0.75% or whatever the PILT process is that they determine. So my calculations for this year's bill, there could be a total of $43,235,000 in payment for lands. And if we multiplied that by 0.75%, that's a total obligation of $324,000 in PILT. and that's for all the lands. Now, up in St. Louis County, half of the lands are going to the DNR, and then half of the lands are going to St. Louis County. So that project, that was a combined project with St. Louis County coming to the council and the DNR in partnership. So the county said, yes, we want this land. They came to us, or they came to the council looking for money to buy this land. So the county willingly made the decision to take on 9,689 acres for themselves, and also approve the acquisition of 9,451 acres to go to DNR. And then the Sand Lake Seven Beavers acquisition, which is a little over 11,000 acres, 11,150 acres is going to TNC, and TNC will hold it privately and will be paying property taxes and managing it for forestry and wildlife.
So, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Pavelko. So, first of all, PILT doesn't a lot of times come close to covering the property tax equivalent on those acres. That's what I've heard over and over from the people up north over the years. So it's an attempt to compensate them for property taxes, but the governments seem to cost more than that, and it doesn't cover the whole cost. I'm curious how much that 9,000 and some acres is. If it was actually PILT, that would at least be something for them. But then I would also say, okay, so the county commissioners said they wanted the land to be in county forest, but that's not the taxpayers. That's the people in government that are there. The taxpayers who have to pay the bill. The response from the county government is simply to raise the taxes. They just raise the levy and extend more taxes on the remaining people that are there. To a county commissioner, if they're not sensitive to the amount of taxes people are paying, they'll just, oh yeah, we'll put that in county land, and we'll just have to raise taxes up, and that's very likely what's happening. So that doesn't mitigate the situation. There's still not only the St. Louis County example, the Cook County example, when they buy land in my district, Senator Green's district, Senator Wiesenberg's, all over the state, every acre you take out costs the remaining taxpayers, property taxpayers, more money, because that is simply a shift to them, because that property is no longer generating property taxes. So everybody else in that county or that city or that school district gets to pay the part of the property taxes that was abandoned when that property became owned by the government. I would expect and wish and hope and pray that when you go through your deliberations from here on out, you start to do that type of analysis. Maybe look at the counties represented by these three guys over here who are up north, and look at what percentage of the property is already in government, what percentage is left to pay taxes, what does that mean in terms of the tax rate for the people, and what does this change mean when we come in and want to scoop up another piece of the land with the people's money and call it protect. To protect means the government owns it. Senator Green pointed out the DNR audit back in 2012 or 2011 suggested very clearly, the Office of Legislative Auditor, they had more land then than they could manage. And we bought tens and tens and tens of thousands of acres since. And we keep buying land under the term protect. Well, let's find another way to protect it rather than buying and leasing it. And let's maybe look at restore and enhance a little more, because this is making it hard for people to live in Minnesota. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Drazkowski, I would just point out that you mentioned PILT, but you didn't bring up the disparity aid that northern Minnesota and rural communities get because of that tax capacity issue that you're talking about. In addition to that, LGA and CPA, both of us sit on the tax committee. Those disproportionately go to greater Minnesota rural communities because of the tax base issue that you're talking about. And I would just add, as again, the senator for St. Louis County, Lake County, and Cook County, not trying to get into an argument, but I do trust my local government officials. I do believe in their ability to properly represent their constituents. If they're raising property taxes or not adhering to what the locals want, then they'll probably get voted out of office. If they get reelected and they're supported by the local communities, I work closely with them and advance our priorities together. That's what I think we should do as representatives at the state level. It's the best way to govern, in my opinion. I hear your concerns about the public lands, but we've done a lot in the tax committee to make up for those funds for Greater Minnesota and Northern Minnesota in particular. So appreciate the conversation. Other discussion? Senator Hur?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to, before we refer this bill to the Finance Committee, I just want to say that the language that Senator Drukowski mentioned, like restore, enhance, is also included in the mission. And it's our wetland, our prairie, and our forest. So just want to add that in. So I move that, Mr. Chair, I move that this bill, Senate File 3404, be recommended to pass as amended to the Finance Committee.
Senator Hur, I'm going to correct you that it's Senate File 4304, just on the record. And Senator Hur moves and recommends that Senate File 4304 is recommended to pass and re-referred to the Committee on Finance as amended. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. The motion passes. And I will pass the gavel back to Chair Hur.
Okay. Members and audience here, we have a hard stop at 5, so we still have 2 bills on our agenda, and we may just have enough time to pass Senator Johnson Stewart bill, Senate File 4361. And, you know, I appreciate maybe folks that are here to testify on the other one. We'll reschedule the other one in the following date. But Senator Johnson Stewart, on to your bill for 4361.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee members. Actually, this bill, I think, is quite, well, I will leave it up to the committee to decide. It is non-controversial. It stems from the work done last year to improve the permitting process, and it relates to wastewater treatment plant permits. So Senate File 4361 streamlines administrative processes for issuing permits to publicly owned wastewater treatment facilities. It does this in 2 ways. First, under existing law, the MPCA commissioner is required to give the permit applicant 30 days to preview their permit before it goes on public notice. Senate File 4361 allows the permit applicant to voluntarily waive this preview period if they choose. Second, existing law provides for a 60-day public notice period, which is longer than required by federal regulations. This bill allows the permit applicant to request that the public notice period be shortened to 30 days, which is in alignment with federal law. The MPCA commissioner is responsible for approving or denying that request based on the level of public or tribal interest in the public permit action. Existing permit review periods can make it challenging for facilities to stay on track with construction and funding deadlines, while some types of environmental permits can be controversial. Permits for wastewater treatment plants often are not controversial and generate few or no public comments. Streamlining the process will make it easier for project managers to build or upgrade wastewater treatment facilities on time and on budget. Timely completion also means earlier implementation of the environmental benefits that are established under the revised permit. Senate File 4361 is a common sense bill that helps Minnesota communities and keeps needed infrastructure projects on track. I have no testifiers, and I urge your support.
Okay. Any questions? You want to speak? Okay, do come to the testimony.
Oh, I do have somebody. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Welcome.
All right, state your name for the record. Go ahead.
Just say your name.
Yep.
Mr. Chair and members, thank you for the opportunity to testify on Senate File 4361, and thank you to Senator Johnson Stewart for carrying the bill. For the record, I am Alexis Stoneth, Assistant Director of Government Relations at the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. As the author stated, this is an agency bill and one that we believe will help expedite a key part of the permitting process for wastewater treatment plants, while still preserving opportunities for public comment when there is sufficient community interest in a permit. Publicly owned wastewater treatment plants operate under very tight timelines to complete their construction in a timely manner and to meet their funding deadlines. Providing the option to shorten the process by up to 60 days is a meaningful way to improve permitting efficiency for these types of permits and to give them a little more breathing room in case other parts of the construction process become delayed due to circumstances outside their control. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and I'm happy to stand for questions.
Thank you. Any comment or question from members? Okay, Senator Johnson Stewart, can you move that the Senate File 4361 be recommended to pass?
So moved, and I appreciate the hearing.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion prevailed. Okay, thank you everyone for listening to the bills that has been heard. Thank you, Senator Hauschild, for chairing a very easy task. So also stay tuned for the next hearing. What your question earlier, Senator Wiesenberg, we're not laying over the bill, but we will schedule a later time to hear Senator Green's bill. Okay, so thank you very much, and if there's no other announcement, the meeting is adjourned.